October 24th. It's a Tuesday, and my name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla here in Santa Fe with your legislative update for today for New Mexico. Got up at 4:15 in the morning to get up here because there was a presentation by our Legislative Finance Committee on higher education funding. And this is a big deal because since 2008, almost every job, 95% of the jobs created in New Mexico, require either a technical certificate, an associate's degree, bachelor's or higher. Basically, a high school degree is not enough to get most new jobs anymore. And so how we fund higher education is really, really important to job creation. But there's some issues here. We're a really big state. We've got 2 million people spread across a vast area, and we've got 17 or 18 institutions when you count 4-year schools and 2-year schools all over the place. But in the past few years, we've run into some problems regarding how that works, and here's some of the issues. Enrollment has actually been either steady or falling over the past 5 or 6 years, and as more schools try to compete for the people that are there, it used to be like Western New Mexico used to be the teaching college, and UNM used to be the arts and sciences school, and NMSU used to be ag. Now all schools try to do everything for everybody, and it means you duplicate services, making it really inefficient. We have the highest default on student loan rates in the country. So if you go to school and you drop out, and we generally have a really high dropout rate at all of our schools, but you borrow money to get in there, then you're doubly in a bad spot, right? Because you borrowed money, you're in debt to get the degree, but you don't get the degree you need to get the job, and that creates a real problem. And that's really tough. CNM, the Central New Mexico Community College rate, default rate is about 28%, and that's pretty tough. We haven't really been able to fund state colleges and universities as well as we should over the past few years because we have this huge budget deficit with oil and gas revenues declining, and that means that colleges and universities, where people say, well, they can raise their tuition, they end up being one of the first ones cut, and that's a problem. There are we generally tend to do okay in terms of percentage of money spent on administration versus the teaching that goes on at universities, but Western New Mexico and Northern New Mexico Community College are way over, and that's a real problem because that means less money is generally going to students. There's lots of duplication. I talked about that. Schools have more classroom space than they need. A lot more students are going into distance education, virtual education. They like it, and so that means schools have been spending all this money building new classrooms, and a lot of times they're not even being used. I think NMSU has something over 100,000 square feet of extra space they don't need, and that's something they've just started to measure and not other schools are even measuring, so that's going to be an issue. Right now, and this is one of the things that, well, let me back up for a second. One of the things that came up today is that New Mexico State University is actually spending almost $5 million of its teaching funds on athletics. UNM and Northern New Mexico do this to an extent, but not like we're doing. And that was a pretty big bone of contention today. So what is one of the things that people are wanting to solve about this? They want to do more performance-based budgeting, where we say, okay, instead of just giving you money per student, we're going to say there are certain things that we want you to meet. So graduation rates, quality of education, there's a bunch of different things that you want, because you don't just want graduation rates, because then you just say schools are like, everybody has a degree, and that's not good either, because if you get one of these diploma mills, you're not really going to get a job out of it, right? So how do you create a performance metric that funds schools based on performance, and find a way to account for that and do it smartly over time? I think that's going to be a really big deal. So these are going to be discussions we're going to have coming forward. One of the problems that I'm really worried about is that at some point in time, if our graduation rates at high school keep dropping, we're just not going to have the students needed to keep all these institutions up. Are certain schools going to have to look at closing facilities? You know, Hatch had a learning center with Doña Ana Branch that got closed this year. Western had to close 2 learning centers, one in Lordsburg. I think that may have been the one that they closed in Hatch this year as well. Is that going to have to happen more? Or are schools going to have to start contracting and say, okay, Western's going to be the teaching school, NMSU is going to be the ag and engineering school, Mines, New Mexico Tech is going to be the mining school, et cetera, and so on. I don't know if these are the answers, but trying to do everything for everybody everywhere is going to be harder and harder as our population doesn't raise, and we just don't have the resources to keep spending. So look, this is really important stuff. It's important for our future, and we've got to make sure we do stuff right. So as always, thank you for watching this. If you have questions, comments, or concerns on these or any other issues, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, y'all. Have a great day. Bye.